Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's perfume day and I'm going to review another Chanel perfume for you. And this time around we will be talking about Cristalle by Chanel. And I have already opened it at the bottom to take it out, to test it out a couple of days prior to getting into the mood and the vibe of the review of this amazing magical perfume. Now, first things first, before I spray it, let's talk about the mythology behind Cristalle. Cristalle was released in 1974. It's a perfume that has been made by Henri Robert, or Henry Robert, as we would say it in English, French guy. In any case, so let's stick to Henri Robert. He is the nose behind some amazing, incredible staples of Chanel perfumery. He is the nose behind Chanel number 19, as well as Pour Monsieur, the only and first Chanel perfume for men made during the life of Coco Chanel in the 50s. What is very interesting about Cristalle is the fact that it came out only in eau de toilette form in 1974. And for those of you who don't know, Coco Chanel died in 1971. I think she was 89 years old or 88. I mean, she lived a long and prosperous life as far as fame and fortune go. Not kids, love, and marriage, unfortunately. But what makes me believe that Cristalle might be the ever last perfume made under the guidance or nose of Chanel herself. Why? Well, because sometimes perfumes take a couple of years to be made. So if she died in 1971 and the perfume was released in 1974, it is quite possible that this perfume was in the beginning, initial stages of development during Coco Chanel's lifetime. Which leads me to believe, or, again, it's myth, we could believe it or not believe it, but this could be the very last perfume made during Chanel's life, or, initiated during Chanel's life, which would make it the last of the original Chanel perfumes. Because to me, even though a lot of amazing perfumes came after Cristalle, under the guidance of Jacques Polge, Chanel never approved them. They're perfumes that fit within the history, the heritage, and the scent olfactory spectrum of Chanel, but they were made post Chanel's life. So Cristalle is, or maybe isn't, the very last one. So solely because of that, and already because of that, I give it a lot of respect. But it's been quite a lot of years, I knew how this perfume smelled. I tested it in the 90s. I never purchased a bottle till now because I have the feeling I'm mature enough to really enjoy it and love it for what it truly is. And I'm now capable of really digging out and smelling out the sophistication behind Cristalle. So let's get to the spray of the perfume. Actually, no. Before we do that, one more note. This type of bottle is still in production, but I think only for Cristalle. This is a 100 milliliter bottle. Cristalle is the only perfume, the only eau de toilette perfume by Chanel that also has 60 milliliter bottles, same kind of shape, just different, same proportions, but a bit smaller. And the boutique exclusives, when they used to be only 4, Cuir de Russie number 22, Gardenia, and Bois des Îles, they were also made in these 100 milliliter bottle sprays where you lift the top like this, and then you have your spray. Then they were revamped, changed, altered. Cristalle, however, never was. So this is the last one of the perfumes still in kind of old school Chanel spray eau de toilette bottles, which is another really interesting thing to know in case you are a collector of Chanel bottles. To own this bottle means you're owning more of Chanel's past. I do have a problem with these bottles. Chanel did revamp them within other perfumes or for their other perfumes, not for this one. Why is the problem? Okay, let's first spray it out and then you'll see. I'm going to do it on both hands because I love it so much. Now you see the problem. The problem is here we have residue right over there. We have perfume residue. And every time you spray it, no matter if you spray it like this or like this, you're always going to have that residue there because this spray is too low. It's too close to this blockage here. So every time you spray it, be sure to wipe it off thoroughly. Otherwise, if you leave alcohol on top of this chromed plastic, it's gonna kind of, attack it, and with time it's gonna chip, or it's gonna peel, or it's not gonna be nice anymore. So that's a thing that Chanel should have changed and modified for this one, but whatever. Other than that, oh my god, it's gorgeous. This perfume goes beyond anything. I have to say, I'm so shocked at myself that I haven't had the maturity to, discover it fully earlier. Let's get to the notes. So that's the Cristalle. And the notes are, top notes, where am I? I'm totally at the wrong perfume right now. Just a second. Anyway, it's sold to us as floral chypre, but to me, and also to a lot of other people, it doesn't really smell that way. So I would say it begins definitely, the aldehydes are there. Chanel is famous for their aldehydes, and Cristalle is no exception, except the aldehydes don't really cut you and don't attack you as much as they do in other perfumes. This one is more, is much better blended and soft. So you have the feeling that the aldehydes are, as the name of the perfume wants, Cristalle or crystal. The aldehydes are crystalline, not like bubbly and foamy as a champagne would be, but they are crystalline as in you feel them sparkling in your nose, but they are not in any way overpowering. And this is a very good thing, because it makes this perfume, from the second you spray it, at least on my skin, till it starts fading out, it makes it extremely balsamic in a way. So if a crystal can be balsamic, it is definitely Cristalle by Chanel. So we have the top notes, Sicilian lemon and bergamot. Middle notes, Brazilian rosewood and hyacinth. And the base notes, vetiver and oak moss. As I always say in my reviews, my skin doesn't really hold well to all of the citrusy smells, the bergamots and all that stuff. So, which is not a bad thing, because purely fresh perfumes usually tend to stay short on anyone's skin anyway. So I like that my skin kind of like digs out immediately the deeper tones of a perfume. What is very interesting about this one is that there's a note in here, even though it's not mentioned in this list that I just read to you, there is a note of a flower, and this is my favorite flower. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it in English, but cyclamen or cyclamen, I think it's cyclamen, I don't know, but they grow in the forest, like not too high in the mountains, and they are an August flower. So as I'm making this review towards the end of August, you're probably going to be seeing it from September on. It is the time of this flower, and this is my favorite flower. It has an incredible scent and smell and odor in the wild, and it's much smaller when you find it in the forest. It's like really tiny. It has a light rosy whitish rose color, and the smell is just magical. It is my favorite flower and the favorite scent from a flower. Now, whether or not it is possible to concentrate that in perfume form, I do not know. If anybody who is really knowledgeable in perfumery, let me know. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would love to know this. If not, just like gardenias are not, extractable in essence form, and we've spoken about that in my Gardenia by Chanel review. You could check that up above in the card section. Up above is always difficult to say. Anyway, I do believe the cyclamines are in here in some shape or form, as the gardenia has been replicated or duplicated in aldehyde or artificial way. Probably cyclamines can be, I guess, reproduced artificially as well. So whether or not the cyclamines in here are natural or artificial, I do not know, but I smell them. And this makes this perfume to me magical, because it brings me back to my childhood. It brings me back to strolls in the woods on weekends with family, with my grandma and parents and so on and so forth. So it's very magical already just for that to me personally. But on top of that, it has that sophistication that only Chanel perfumes bring on the table or in the light of day. What is very interesting is that Cristalle was also made as an eau de parfum way later in the game, around 1994. The eau de parfum was composed by Jacques Polge. So let's say 1974, 1994, 1993. So it's approximately 20 years later that the eau de parfum hits the market. The eau de toilette, however, is very different from the eau de parfum, which leads us almost to say, you know, the eau de parfum of Cristalle could have been called a different way, not Cristalle. But anyway, as also often is the case with Chanel and kind of perfumery, back in the day, they didn't used to do flankers. They would just name a perfume the same way with a different concentration. Nowadays, we see flankers coming out everywhere. But the original one is the eau de toilette. And I beg you, if you want to try Cristalle, try the eau de toilette first. What is very typical and what a lot of people, the reviewers, say is that Cristalle, strange, this is very strange because it's called Cristalle, and Cristalle in our mind already, you know, wakes up images of light filtering through prisms and kind of separation of light in all of the colors of the prism and the spectrum of light. And yet, in review kind of jargon, we would say that the eau de toilette is the darker side of Cristalle and the eau de parfum brings out the light of Cristalle. Now, since I'm only reviewing the eau de toilette this time around, I'm not going to get into the light of the eau de parfum, but I sure as heck am going to tell you about the darkness of Cristalle. Isn't that interesting that Jacques Polge, for example, for Coco Noir, and you could check the comparison review in the card section up above, even though he called the perfume Coco Noir, all of the marketing campaigns were oriented and focused on describing how light through darkness revealed. And I think that concept was slightly copied by him from Cristalle, made by Henri Robert, because there is darkness in here. And even though the liquid is, you know, totally transparent almost, there's a slight light greeny, yellowy touch to it, this perfume has darkness in it. And it's a type of darkness that you would, as I was describing the woods, you know, entering the forest and the woods and then having these little tiny, in August or late August, these tiny cyclamen flowers growing, and they grow very, very low and in big patches. And then there's a lot of moss nearby as well, oak moss, which is also in this perfume. And you have kind of a lot of trees surrounding these patches of cyclamens, and these trees create shades and shadows, even though we have the sun on top of those trees. Underneath and within, we don't have much light. We have that kind of humid, moisty, shadowy, foresty feel. And that is darkness. That's the type of darkness we have in this perfume. The vetiver in here also creates a darkness, but it's very different from the vetiver that we encounter in the most extreme form and most kind of close to pure form in Sycamore by Chanel. You could check out that review in the card section up above as well if you're interested. Sycamore has a vetiver that is wet and moist and earthy, and you could smell that soil when you pulled it out of the earth and you smell that humid soil still attached to it. The vetiver in Cristalle is tamed. It's been tamed by humans. It's been turned into something extremely sophisticated and rich in a way that this doesn't need to scream richness, but it's rather subdued and elegant and very well balanced. And it kind of tends to balance out quite well with your chemistry and skin in general because it's not a sillage and a projection monster. This is the type of perfume you wear when you want somebody to come close to you and discover it, and discover its power and discover its magic. Here I did 2 sprays, here I did 1 spray. And it's crazy how, like a crystal, you know, a crystal is odorless in a way. So you know that you've sprayed it on your hand and you know that that's a kind of it's like a crystal standing over there. So it's not going to attack you with smell. Unless you don't spray it here in the chest area and spray a lot of it with the heat of the body covered by the clothes. From time to time you will get a whiff of it, but very, very subdued as well. Here, however, you have to go and hunt it down. Meaning, just like a crystal, you have to go and look for it in the drawer, wherever you put it, in the safe, or however you want to treat your crystals, if you have any, you have to go about it the same way with this one, because you have to come close to it and smell it to discover it. And then when you discover it, it's incredible. It's so balsamic. It like fills my whole olfactory tract, everything from the nose to the throat down, with something almost tasty and delicious and creamy. Nothing aggressive, nothing that needs to be further tamed, nothing for which you have to wait an hour, half an hour, 40 minutes or whatever for it to settle down to be able to leave the house. Sometimes I have that issue with Coco Noir. Like, I love it to pieces, but I kind of try to spray it on at least 40 minutes or 30 minutes before I leave the house, so it settles down to that point where it doesn't attack the people around me. This one doesn't attack at all. You have to find it out. You have to discover it. And when you discover it, you become addicted. Totally, completely, and utterly addicted to Cristalle. And I know that the vintage bottles, pre-reformulation, pre-regulations on which ingredients are, allowed to be used or not in these perfumes, all of that has changed. And a lot of people say that the vintage, juices are much better, are more crisp, are more intense. Let me tell you just one thing. As far as Cristalle goes, yes, I would like it to last longer on the skin for sure. But to be perfectly honest with you, this is one of those rare moments where I have to say I love it the way it is now. And they have modified probably some of the oak moss is probably different. Vetiver, I'm not so sure. If there is any musk, it's also probably modified. I don't sense out the musk at all. It almost smells a little bit like a forest that kind of ends at a cliff, and then there's the ocean after that. And then you have a little bit of that sea feel to it. Something, very, very sea-like. And I'm not saying that there's like algae or seaweed in there, but there's something oceany. There's a touch of something wet and salty in there as well. So there's the balsamic and the creamy, but there's also that touch of wet and salty. And what is very interesting to notice, I don't know if you can see this, but inside of this perfume, it's impossible probably to see. There are little particles. Now that's not a bad thing. That's a very good thing. They're almost microscopic. I mean, you could see them with your bare eye, with your naked eye, if you're looking into it against the light. There are natural ingredients in here. This is not a artificial scent only. So what I would suggest is definitely I wish Chanel would make more variations of bottles and types of bottles. As I said, it's great to have this one because it's kind of more that vintagey vibe, but it's still not the vintage bottle. The vintage bottle was a splash, actually, and a spray. And of course, you had the Eau de Toilette written above the Cristalle. So first you would have Eau de Toilette, and down here Cristalle Chanel, or Chanel Cristalle. But nevertheless, this is kind of one of the oldest ones left as spray bottle designs that we have today. I wish Chanel would make more of a travel size as well, and different bottles as well. But 100 ml is perfect. I mean, it's the maximum amount that you can carry around as a carry-on on the airplane. So good for that. They should just fix these spray thingamajiggies so that they don't leave residue over there. Other than that, I'm loving it. Actually, I'm going to spray some more because it's just... it's incredible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please give this perfume a try. And mind you, it is the cheapest of all Chanel perfumes as far as concentration and price goes. So for the amount you get, you pay the least than all other Chanel perfumes. It's still not cheap. None of Chanel perfumes are cheap, but it's the cheapest of the Chanel perfumes. It is completely unisex in my personal opinion. It's not male, it's not female. It transcends gender completely. There's like no way you could classify this within one range. And another thing, it's always at the bottom of the shelves. It's always the one that's hidden. It's always the one that people don't buy, don't give it enough love or attention. I think also because it's not the easiest of the perfumes. The marketing strategy behind this is non-existent as of now. It has been in the 70s, but then they relatively quickly kind of stopped it. And marketing is at least. So that's why perfumes like Coco Mademoiselle have incredible resonance on the market, even though, you know, the review I made on this perfume revealed to us that most of you guys are not really liking Coco Mademoiselle. But still, I ask myself, if a lot of people can't really like it, doesn't really suit their skin, why does it have so much success? Because, you know, Chanel pushed marketing to the utter extreme with that perfume, and they've had the diabolical marketing and it worked, and the perfume sells. Also, it's a very intense perfume, so it's easy kind of to justify it, I guess, from a perspective of a buyer, of a client, of a customer, because you think, I smell it more, it's more intense, okay, so it's worth the money. But that's a wrong approach as far as buying perfumes goes. It's not that just because the perfume is a power bomb and is kind of a dominatrix on your skin, does that mean that it justifies the high price? Sometimes we should think also in moderated terms, in more subdued terms, in more elegant terms, because sometimes that's exactly the reason why a higher price should be justified, because it gives you that elegance, it elevates you, it elevates your soul, it elevates your being, it elevates the way you look and it elevates the way that you come across to other fellow human beings. Again, thank you so much for watching. Share this video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I post videos every day. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Now I'm like all over the place. Love you all. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye.